Think Suzuki Baleno, but raised and rugged. The Suzuki Fronx is the crossover SUV version that keeps you moving when the tarmac ends, because it sits 20mm higher than the Baleno, which is not a whole lot, but it's just the right amount to give you that added bit of confidence on gravel roads. That is why we're filming today's review of the beaten track. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know about the Fronx's practicality, its features. I'm gonna thrash it on a gravel road, and then dial things down on the tarmac. And finally then, I'll tell you what its running costs are on a monthly basis. I love everything about the Fronx except for one thing that really annoys me, which we'll get into later in the video. Welcome to the 12,000 subscriber celebration video, and without further ado, let's get straight into this review. Car Talks. Power, precision, performance. So I've been living with the Suzuki Fronx for about a week now, and it's basically a taller, more handsome Suzuki Baleno. Well, at least according to me anyway. So I think it should have been called the Toleno. Anyway, this is the top of the range GLX Automatic, but you can expect to find the same engine in the lower GL trim. And you guessed it, it's Suzuki's bread and butter. The 1.5-litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder petrol engine that you find in the Suzuki Swift, in the Baleno, and just about everything else in between. It produces 77 kilowatts and 138 newton meters of torque, which admittedly is not a whole lot, but the vehicle only weighs a ton, so it gets around just fine. Power is sent to the front wheels via a 4-speed automatic gearbox. No performance figures have been published on the Suzuki South Africa website, not that it matters anyway, because you're not going anywhere in a hurry in this. Moving on to practicality and features, you get 304 liters worth of boot space. Comparatively, the Toyota Stolid Cross has the same boot size because it's the exact same car, while the Tiggo 4 Cross gets 380 liters depending on how you calculate it. So once you return to the city after Bundu bashing, you'll be happy to know that the Fronx can comfortably swallow a few Woolies bags. And by the way, I saw what you guys did when I posted the Woolies bags in the channel car last week. Oh man, that was brilliant. I honestly had a bit of a chuckle. Nevertheless, you get a 60-40 rear bench split configuration, a parcel shelf, and a spare wheel. The tailgate is manually operated, of course. Coming around to the rear cabin, you get black and plum cloth seats. And surprisingly, there's no center armrest back here, whereas the cheaper Suzuki Desire that we had on test the week before had one. But to avoid any doubt, that video is not out yet. It'll probably be published early next month. Nevertheless, you get ISOFIX anchor points to safely mount your child seat, 6 airbags, and a 5-star RCON NCAP rating. You get rear air vents and 2 USB ports, which are a Type A and Type C. Rear legroom is cavernous when sitting behind my driving position, and for reference, I'm 1.78 meters tall or 5'10". The sloping roofline does eat away into headroom. I mean, I'm still fine, but if you're over 6 foot, then it might be a tight squeeze. The front cabin is where this vehicle really shines because the GLX variant we're currently in has a gazillion features including keyless entry and push to start, a large 9-inch infotainment system with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a 360-degree camera, and head-up display amongst many other features. But to be fair, even the entry-level GL model is decently spec'd because you get power windows for all 4 doors, cruise control, a leather-wrapped steering wheel, automatic aircon, LED headlights with LED daytime running lights, and a smaller infotainment than this one, but it does also come with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Back to the GLX, you get manually operated seats with height adjustment, finished in black and plum cloth once again. I wish these were all black, but at least they're not cream like we've seen in other cars in the Suzuki lineup. In terms of storage space, you get a cubbyhole and a small storage bin under the center armrest. And while I appreciate that there's even a center armrest in here, it does slide back and forth without being able to click or lock into place, so it tends to move inadvertently. Not a deal breaker, but something to be aware of. You get 2 cup holders, a wireless charger, a USB Type-A port, and a 12-volt socket. And by the way, I've done a sound test on the Fronx's sound system, so head over to my YouTube shorts and have a listen. Now, if you love the Suzuki Baleno, but perhaps you come from a more rural province like myself with many farms and villages, then the Fronx makes perfect sense because while it's not a true off-roader per se, the extra ground clearance and tougher suspension mean that you can be less careful on a gravel road. Styling-wise, I also think that the Fronx is superior to the Baleno, and there are a few design elements that confirm this, such as the LED light bar in the rear, which looks absolutely incredible during sunset. Alright, it is the end of the day and we are done with bundu bashing, so it's time to hit the tarmac and find out what the Fronx is like to live with. First things first, the suspension is comfortable, which is further aided by the thick sidewalls on those 16-inch alloys, so no complaints with ride quality. Surprisingly, it corners really well too, despite a higher center of gravity. And I must say that for as long as the road is fairly flat and one is driving at a consistent speed, then I could genuinely see myself driving this as a daily. But as soon as you start to drive more enthusiastically, or perhaps the road ahead has uphills and slopes, then that's where the buck stops for me. Which leads me to the one annoying thing that I mentioned at the start of the video. And that is the gearbox. It's a 4-speed automatic with very long gear ratios, which means it does whine and drone quite a bit, especially if you're driving uphill. So as a result of that, I found myself enjoying the manual gearbox in the Suzuki Desire a little bit more. I actually asked my wife to drive the Fronx for about a day or so, and without telling her anything, she said to me, "Great car, but that gearbox is a no-no." So even a non-car person will notice it, unfortunately. But if you own an automatic Fronx, please let me know in the comments how your ownership experience has been. Where the Fronx really shines for me is its maneuverability in town because it's under 4 meters in length. And so that means it's easy to park. It's one of those vehicles that makes you think there's an empty parking space in a shopping center. And then when you get closer to it, you realize that, damn it, there's a Fronx in there. It's also got a small turning radius of only 4.8 meters, so it's quite nippy. The steering wheel is so much more direct than the Suzuki Jimny that we had on test last year, so it feels right at home in the city. Now, the default setting of the head-up display was not at eye level with me, and so I found myself having to look down quite a bit to see the display. And so initially I thought, do I have a freakishly long torso, unbeknownst to me, or what in the world is happening here? But I quickly realized that using these up and down buttons, you can adjust the placement of the head-up display. So it seems that Suzuki had our short kings and queens in mind with these settings. Nevertheless, I like the fact that the head-up display shows you quite a lot of information that you don't get from other brands, so it's not a gimmick. You get a choice of 6 colors from which to choose, plus 3 additional bi-color options. Our press fleet unit is finished in Arctic white pearl, which is metallic and pops in the sun. Claimed fuel consumption is 5.5 liters per 100 kilometers for the manual and 5.7 liters for the automatic. And we were averaging between 5.9 and 6 liters, so the claim is pretty spot on. Other highlight features include electrically folding side mirrors, an automatic dimming rear view mirror, park distance control in the rear, roof rails, and a brake towing capacity of 1 ton. You get grey roof lining without the option of a sunroof because that's reserved for the more premium Grand Vitara. But I think that the Fronx would look sick with a sunroof. Last but not least, the Fronx gets a 5-year 200,000 kilometer warranty and a 4-year 60,000 kilometer service plan. Before we get to pricing and cost of ownership, allow me to welcome Steven to our paid membership program. This is the 12,000 subscriber celebration video and we are still on the road to 20,000 subs. So if you are enjoying these videos, then please go ahead and smash the subscribe button to become a part of the family. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so that you don't miss a single one of our epic reviews. Moving on to pricing and cost of ownership, the Fronx only comes in 2 trims, the base GL and the top of the range GLX, both of which are available in either a 5-speed manual or 4-speed automatic. So you can essentially get into the Suzuki Fronx for under 300,000 rands when you get the GL in manual, all the way up to the GLX Auto that we're currently in, which starts from 370,000 rands. On finance, it will cost you 7,000 rands a month over 6 years at the current prime interest rate of 10.25% per annum. Insurance is risk profile dependent and the cheapest quote I got was 1,800 rands. A full tank of petrol will cost you 750 rands at the current inland price of 95 octane for the 37-litre fuel tank, which would then bring your total cost of ownership to 9,500 rands. This is still a budget car at the end of the day, so for the most part, the interior does feel plasticky, but the layout has been well thought out ergonomically and you're getting a hell of a lot for less than 400,000 rands. This segment is incredibly challenging and filled with fierce competitors from established brands such as the Hyundai Venue and a plethora of new entrants in the market like the Chery Tiggo 4 Cross, to name a few. But being a naturally aspirated Japanese car gives the Fronx a competitive advantage because you know you can drive this thing until the wheels fall off, which is why Toyota is comfortable putting their badge on it. But let me know in the comments what you're getting for under 400,000 rands. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.